Posta só daqui a pouco, mais 2 minutos, essa URL no grupo lá. Tá funcionando já tá rolando. Eu vou só no banheiro e já volto, tá?
Ok.
Se o pessoal for entrando aí, boa sorte.
Aí já pode começar normal se a galera for entrando?
Oi?
Já pode começar normal se a galera for entrando?
Eu espero, mas posta o link lá no grupo e espera uns 2 minutinhos e a gente começa, tá? Já volto.
Ok, beleza.
Pode ir falando aí com o Rafael enquanto isso. Gente boa esse aí.
Can everyone hear me? Okay, the audio is okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fudido. Eu editei no jogo. Os dois trocaram junto. Let's wait more 1 or 2 minutes to start. Na verdade, eu acho que só tem BR aqui, né? Mas tudo bem.
Can we start, though?
Who is Rosbo? No. I'm recording this presentation. I think we can start, José.
Okay. Hi, my name is Renan. I am a computer science student from Federal University of Campina Grande, and presentation to be like a blog post explaining what I did in this software period, the decisions I had to face in the project, etc. So I'm a little bit shy, so maybe this presentation will be fast, but okay. I've been working in the JavaScript SDK project, and the main purpose, the main proposal of this is implement an SDK to connect any JavaScript client to the Rocket Chat servers, because there are lots of JavaScript clients on Rocket Chat, like Robot and React Native client, and another client that the community does, like an app or anything that could connect with the JavaScript with the Rocket Chat. That the idea is to bring to clients the same code to send messages, login users, create, and it will avoid code rework, maintenance, and be everything in one project that will be that will abstract all this logic and etc. The kickoff to start the project was the React Native client of Rocket Chat, because there is a library actually that do this stuff. There is a DDP client and the library itself that can send messages, login users, listen to messages in a channel, and etc. So this is the basis of the idea. Was it was decided in the beginning that it will be the basis of what we had to do, but now not only for React Native, but for any JavaScript client. This one specifically have a problem because there is lots of specific Redux code, for example. So I cannot only export this folder to another repository and share with share it as a JavaScript SDK, because there are lots of, as I said, there are lots of specific code inside. So besides that, there were another project that is the Rocket Chat JS SDK for bots. And this SDK is used by Hubot and other bots to communicate with the server with the same purpose: login, send messages, and etc. So this one is basically what the proposal is intended to do, but there is a little problem, that is this SDK server only. So it only runs on server side and Node.js. So the main cause of this was because the library Asteroid, that is a library it's a DDP library to connect with Meteor, and it was used to make the socket server calls, and this library only runs on server side. And another problem that the team pointed was, as you can see, this library don't receive commits from 2 years, so it's not maintained. And if I want to expand this SDK for bots to run in any client, JavaScript, the first thing I had to do was substitute asteroid or substitute asteroid for another client that can run in client side and server side and can be maintained easily. So we decided to bring the DDP client that is in the Rocket Chat React Native app client to here, because that client is made by the Rocket Chat team too. It's made by Rocket Chat team, and it's already maintained by the React Native devs on the Rocket Chat. So put together the bot SDK with the SDK from React Native to bring an SDK universal for JavaScript. So there was a little problem, that is because the DDP client had from React Native have some Redux code and etc. And the JavaScript bot SDK use TypeScript. So I had to before start the migration, I have to make a DDP that don't uses that don't have this specific code from React, and that's so I use it as basis, the DDP client from React Native, and bring it to the Rocket Chat for bots. And it was a very big factor because the asteroid was used in almost the whole project in the bot SDK. There is a big part of the project that depends of socket connections. So it was a really big refactor that impacts in lots of points in the code and lots of tests broken and etc. So I think it was the most difficult part to me of the development period, and it takes lots of time. But when I do that, my first focus was, when I finished this part, my first focus was bundle it to port this SDK to any JavaScript client. That is the focus of the proposal. So when I did it, I bundled the project, and it had 292 kilobytes size. So it is very big for a bundle. The maximum recommended by Webpack community is 242 kilobytes. So I had to find something to do to optimize this size. So searching in lots of tools like Bundlephobia, and other tools on the internet, I found that 45% of the bundle was being composed by Node.js client. That is a library, a dependency of the bot SDK that's used to make API calls. So we can reduce lots of this size, a big part of the size, if we just remove this dependency. So I had to start another refactoring to change the Node.js client to another library, and I choose Axios because it's a really famous library to API REST client that's very used by React Native projects, and it can run in server side and client side, so in browsers or in mobile apps, Cordova, or anything. So with this, doing it, I could reduce the size of the package to 98 kilobytes, and now is using Axios, and brings lots of benefits because now the SDK is very smaller than before, and now it's using a very famous and active library with a huge community and etc. So with that, we could bring some results. There are a new DDP client for the SDK bot that is already maintained by Rocket Chat. That is the React Native DDP client. We had optimization, the package size of the JS bot, and now we have open doors to use SDK in bots, browsers, server, mobile, and when I say mobile, I say React Native, Cordova, and etc. Ionic, and is it? I prepared a demo to show you the SDK working on the browser and on a React Native client. Let me show you. Here is the application SDK, and here is my server of Rocket Chat. And this application is listening to all the messages I type in general. So, hi. Wait. And my name is disappearing here. So I am listening to all the messages in general using the SDK. To show you the code, here is, I am importing the SDK library and using its driver, connecting to localhost, making login, subscribing to the messages, and reacting to all the messages, showing the last message sent in general in the view. So the SDK, you can make a simple Rocket Chat client without type lots of code. So it's already working. I had another sample that is running on browser. Can the same thing here. I can type here some message. Hello. And it, oh my God. What happened? Oh, I did it. Hello. So it's working. I am sending messages here, and it is appearing here. So the SDK
Because
I had a problem here, sorry. Are you seeing my screen?
Not yet.
And now?
Yeah, yeah, it's working.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry again, but yes, it's working on browsers. I'm sending messages and it's receiving here. And the same way, it's using it's using the SDK here. I am importing the and subscribing to messages, connecting, made login, subscribing to messages, and sending message to room. So the SDK is already working on browsers and React Native client and etc. So is this?
That's it.
I like to thanks the community because you were very helpful to me in all this process. All the problems I had, there always had someone to help me, and especially to Guilherme and Tim and Sing Lee and Carl. That was the 4 people that I had more contact at all this time. I was always with them in the chat. So thank you. It was very nice to me to be part of this project, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Just to say, it's a very useful project because we have a lot of implementations, as he said, on React Native, and we have Asteroid use is very binded with Meteor, and using a SDK we can probably change our server in near future. And yeah, that's it. If somebody has any questions, please, it's time to ask.
I'd like to supplement some background information that some mentor or attendee may not know, is that the project itself actually was almost on stall for the first 2 months of a 3 months GSOC program, namely because we have some issue like with Carl as the mentor. And it is amazing that all this work that we're looking at right now mostly were done during this last month. Like in saving the project, we were even looking to find something easier. And it's, I think, both the student and the mentor insisting on sticking with this project that we actually got to this point. And as Gaso says, it's incredibly useful because we don't just have our own client. There's all sort of people who are building JavaScript or JavaScript compatible client that can use this SDK. Plus also, I think all the bots adapter are going to rely on this SDK, which uses 100% our own code versus relying on that old Asteroid library, which nobody maintains anymore. So it's really taking us really far into a milestone that way. I do have to say though, currently the bots unit tests are not passing because of asynchronous issues. I do have some concern about that, so please work on that and try to get those passed as soon as possible, because then it will ensure that the SDK is also usable by the bots. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say that we already had SDK, but now, as things said, we have a lot of tests. Maybe some is not passing for now, but it's a great tooling, because we didn't made any kind of test before. So that's it. I will mute my phone because I think you are listening, Gabriel. But that's it for us.
Right, I have a question, and first of all, congrats, Hanan and the mentors. That was a great addition to the project. I had two questions, but one of them was answered already. It was related to the tests. So as I can see, we have a lot of tests in this SDK. And the other question is probably more directed to Gazu than to the Hanan. But it is, are we planning to start using this library in live chat that we are starting rewriting? And are you planning to use that when we start writing the front end?
Probably, I was thinking about replace the DDP client on React Native first, because now we are based on DDP. Probably in live chat we could change through, and I think we are starting next month or next week a new client from live chat, and probably we will use this SDK too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
some questions. Okay, so
nope.
That's
it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I don't know how to stop the live. I found.